Emily stumbled
Hey,
along the
you
dusty
okay?
path leading to her
Yeah,
brother
just a
Nathaniel's
little
ranch,
overwhelmed.
her
I'm
stomach
here.
tight
We'll
with
get through
fear and
this.
exhaustion.
You
The
look
late
like you could
afternoon
use
sun
this.
dipped low over the
Thank you.
Montana
I really
plains,
could.
casting
It's been a
long
long
shadows
day.
across
It
the
has.
fields. Her heart pounded, not from the walk, but from the shame and worry that had plagued her for months. She had nowhere else to go. Pregnant, alone, and abandoned by the man she had trusted, Emily felt the weight of the world pressing down on her. The letters she had written begging for help went unanswered, the doors she knocked on had closed silently in her face. But now, this ranch, her brother's home, was her last hope. As she approached the wooden gate, she saw Nathaniel. He was leaning against the fence, broad shoulders silhouetted by the fading sun, eyes scanning the horizon. The moment he noticed her, he straightened, concern washing over his face. "Emily." His voice was calm but firm, carrying the strength that always made her feel safe. She hesitated, unsure if she could meet his eyes. Finally, she whispered, "It's me, I need help." Nathaniel didn't ask questions immediately. He opened the gate and stepped forward, his hand reaching out. Emily, trembling, took it. His grip was steady, reassuring, and for a fleeting moment, the tension in her body eased. He led her to the house, the scent of burning wood and fresh bread greeting them as they entered. The kitchen was warm, the fireplace crackling softly. Nathaniel gestured to a chair, insisting she sit while he fetched water. She sank down, her legs weak, and let herself breathe for the first time in weeks. Emily started, but the words caught in her throat. Tears pricked her eyes. Nathaniel sat across from her, silent, patient, giving her the space to gather her thoughts. "It's okay," he finally said. "You're safe here. You don't have to explain everything right now." His voice, steady and unwavering, eased some of her panic. She looked around the cozy ranch house, the walls lined with old photographs, shelves full of books, and the faint smell of hay drifting through the open window. Here, at least, she wasn't alone. Over the next hour, Emily told her story in fragmented sentences, her heartbreak, betrayal, and the fear of raising a child alone. Nathaniel listened quietly, his face a mask of concern and determination. He didn't judge, didn't interrupt, only nodded when necessary. When she finished, silence hung between them. Finally, Nathaniel reached across the table, placing a firm hand on hers. "We'll get through this," he said softly, eyes locking with hers. "You won't be alone." For the first time in months, Emily felt a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, her life wasn't over. Here, on this vast Montana ranch, with her brother by her side, she could begin to rebuild, not just for herself, but for the child growing inside her. The weeks turned into months, and Emily's pregnancy began to show. Each morning, the ranch came alive with the sounds of lowing cattle, clanging tools, and the rhythmic gallop of horses. Nathaniel never left her side. He carried water to her room, helped with chores she could no longer manage, and ensured she had time to rest. Though Emily felt weak and anxious, his unwavering support gave her a sense of security she hadn't felt in years. For the first time, she began to believe that maybe she could survive this, maybe even thrive. The ranch hands were curious, yet respectful. They whispered among themselves about the unmarried young woman and the baby she carried, but Nathaniel ignored their murmurs. "Family is more than blood," he reminded Emily one evening as they sat on the porch watching the sunset. "We protect each other. That's what matters." Emily clutched her growing belly, tears welling in her eyes, overwhelmed by the generosity of his love. Still, fear lingered in her heart. She worried about the world outside the ranch, about judgment, gossip, and the shame she carried. One evening, as they tended the horses, Emily's anxiety spilled over. "Nathaniel, what if people judge the baby? What if they never accept him?" she asked, her voice trembling. Nathaniel stopped brushing the horse and turned to her, his gaze firm yet gentle. "Emily, listen to me," he said, placing his hands on her shoulders. "This child is ours to protect. He will have my name. No one will question his place in this family. I promise you that." Her chest tightened as relief and gratitude collided with guilt. "I don't want to take that from you, from anyone," she whispered. Nathaniel shook his head. "You're not taking anything. You're giving life, and you've been brave through everything. That child deserves love, and so do you." Over the next months, they worked together preparing for the baby. Nathaniel built a small nursery in a quiet corner of the ranch house, painting it in soft yellows and blues, filling it with a crib, blankets, and a rocking chair. Emily spent her days sewing tiny clothes, folding diapers, and imagining the life she hoped to give her child. Nathaniel watched quietly, occasionally offering advice, sometimes teasing her about her over-enthusiasm for pastel colors, making her laugh in a way she hadn't in years. The bond between them deepened. Emily realized that Nathaniel's promise wasn't just about giving the baby his name, it was about giving her a sense of security and hope she thought she'd lost forever. She wasn't alone. She had a home, a family, and a protector. And for the first time in a long while, she let herself dream, not just of survival, but of happiness. As the autumn leaves began to turn golden red, Emily felt the life inside her kick strongly. It was a reminder that despite the past, despite the hardships, something beautiful was growing. And with Nathaniel at her side, she knew they could face whatever came next together. The early morning air was crisp and still, a thin layer of frost glittering on the ranch's wooden fences. Emily woke with a sharp pain in her abdomen, her breath catching as she realized the moment had come. Nathaniel, who had been tending the animals outside, rushed in at her urgent call. His calm, steady presence grounded her panic. "We'll get through this," he whispered, gripping her hand as he helped her to the waiting room they had prepared. The hours passed in a blur of contractions, labored breaths, and Nathaniel's quiet reassurances. He never left her side, holding her hand, wiping sweat from her brow, whispering soft encouragements. The ranch, usually alive with noise, felt suspended in time, every creak of the floorboards and crackle of the fireplace magnified in the tense silence. Emily's fear and exhaustion mingled with anticipation. She focused on Nathaniel's unwavering gaze, drawing strength from it, clinging to it like a lifeline. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the wails of new life filled the room. Nathaniel's eyes glistened as he held the tiny, fragile body in his hands, cradling the newborn with a mixture of awe and tenderness. "You're safe now," he whispered, tears threatening to spill. Emily, gasping for breath, collapsed back onto the bed, overwhelmed by relief, gratitude, and love. Her child was here. Her child was alive. And Nathaniel was here, their silent protector and steadfast guide through this storm of life. Nathaniel gently laid the baby in Emily's arms. She studied the tiny features, the soft wisps of hair, the delicate fingers curling instinctively around hers. "He's perfect," she murmured, tears streaming freely down her face. Nathaniel leaned close, brushing a kiss across her temple. "And he's ours. I promised him a home, Emily. And I'll keep that promise." The ranch hands, who had been quietly watching from the doorway, offered their congratulations and support. They helped with meals, cleaned the nursery, and shared stories of their own families, creating an unexpected but comforting sense of community. Emily realized, with a mixture of astonishment and gratitude, that she wasn't just supported by Nathaniel, she was surrounded by people willing to stand by her and her child. Days turned into weeks. Life settled into a new rhythm. Soft lullabies in the morning, long walks across the frost-kissed pastures, and afternoons spent watching the sun set behind the mountains. Nathaniel treated the baby as his own, teaching him early lessons about courage, kindness, and honesty. Emily watched, overwhelmed by the depth of his care and the bond forming between father and child. Though the past had been painful, the ranch, once a refuge, had become a home. Emily felt her fears melt away in the warmth of family and community. Nathaniel's promise had done more than protect the child, it had given her the courage to hope again. And as she held her newborn close, listening to Nathaniel's soft, steady voice and the baby's quiet breathing, Emily knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, bound by love, trust, and the unbreakable ties of family. Years had passed since that crisp autumn morning when Emily gave birth. The Montana ranch, vast and sunlit, seemed to stretch endlessly, fields rolling gently toward the horizon. Luke, now a lively 6-year-old, raced across the pastures, laughter carrying through the valley. Horses galloped nearby, cows grazed peacefully, and the wind whispered through golden grasses. Nathaniel watched from the porch, arms folded, a quiet smile on his face, pride swelling in his chest. Emily sat beside him, sipping warm tea, her heart light with contentment. She had changed, too, not just as a mother, but as a woman who had endured hardship and emerged stronger. The years of fear and isolation felt distant now, replaced by warmth, joy, and the simple beauty of family life. Nathaniel had kept his promise. Luke had never known the stigma of an abandoned child. He had grown up secure, loved, and cherished, and it was all because Nathaniel had chosen to stand by Emily when the world had turned its back. Luke paused mid-run, turning toward the porch. "Dad, come play," he shouted, cheeks flushed from exertion. Nathaniel laughed, long and easy, the sound carrying across the fields. "I'm coming," he called back, striding down the steps with steady, confident steps. Emily watched the two of them together, feeling a swell of gratitude and love. Nathaniel was more than a brother, he had become a partner in building this family, a protector, and a father in every sense. The afternoon sun dipped lower, casting a golden glow over the ranch. Luke climbed onto Nathaniel's back, giggling uncontrollably as they ran around the yard. Emily's gaze followed them, her hands folded over her stomach where she had once carried her tiny, fragile baby. Now, that baby was a lively boy, full of curiosity and energy, running under the wide Montana sky. She realized how far they had all come, from fear, shame, and uncertainty to laughter, security, and belonging. Later, as the family sat on the porch together, Nathaniel wrapped an arm around Emily's shoulders. Luke leaned against his father, tired but happy, his small hand clutching Nathaniel's. Silence settled over them, peaceful and comforting. Nathaniel looked out at the horizon, then back at Emily, and said softly, "We've done it, Em. We've built a life here that's ours. Nothing else matters." Emily nodded, eyes glistening with emotion. "We've survived everything. And we've given Luke a home filled with love. That's all that matters." The sun sank behind the mountains, painting the sky in pinks and golds, as if blessing the family's journey. In that moment, Emily understood something profound. Life's hardships could never erase the bonds of love, trust, and courage. Nathaniel's unwavering devotion had transformed despair into hope, abandonment into belonging. The ranch was more than land, it was the heart of a family, strong and enduring. And as Luke's laughter echoed once more across the fields, Emily knew that they had not only survived, they had truly thrived together.